YouTube. Welcome to another live open forum. I've got my coffee in my $1 million cup. Hopefully I can turn this $1 million cup into an actual $1 million. We'll see. So this is episode 4, I guess you could call it, the live open forum, and so far they've pretty much dudded out. So I'm almost sure that this one will probably dud out as well. But as I've said on multiples of these in the past, it's a work in progress. They do very well on TikTok. So you would think that they would catch on well on YouTube, but it's a different beast, right? So we'll just keep on plugging along. We'll keep on trying, and we'll see what happens. So it's Friday the 13th anyway, right? So anything interesting on Friday the 13th? Anybody have any superstitions about Friday the 13th? For me, I think it's just another day. I don't buy much into that, even though in a past life I was big in the horror genre. Used to write horror fiction, and I also was the editor of a popular online horror fiction magazine called Frightnet back in the day. That was back in the 90s, and I also got to edit a collection of 17 stories in the anthology Dark Whispers, all under the pen name of Ivan S. Graves. So that was a fun experience. I had a lot of fun with that. At the time, I was working on putting together another anthology, Chillers. Well, that one kind of fell through because the publisher that I had gone out of business and sold out to, I believe, Mundania Press. And Mundania Press, there were some issues there that caused the Chillers anthology to kind of fizzle out. So it was what it was at the time. These days, I don't write much fiction, and I'm not very involved in the horror genre anymore. There was one guy that came out of the Frightnet era, though. I believe I published his first short story. His name was Michael Lamo, and he published several novels. He's got a book out right now called Misconnections, and he did pretty well for himself. He went on to get a couple of movies made for, I believe it was Children's TV, and he's thanked me a couple of times. So it's nice to see that he found some good success. And there were a lot of great writers that I got to work with when I was doing the Frightnet thing. I got to work with Peter Straub, and got to work with T.M. Wright, Ramsey Campbell, Bentley Little, all kinds of guys. So it was a fun experience for me back in the day as Ivan S. Graves, which is the name I picked for myself at the time. But anybody popping in, looks like a few people popped in. This is basically a live open forum. So the way it works is, anybody wants to ask any questions, serious questions, fun questions, silly questions, kind of jump off of that. I do these on TikTok, and they seem to do pretty well. It's a work in progress on YouTube. Just 4 times doing this. And so far, they've all dudded out. But that is that's the nature of the beast. So, but if anybody's got anything that they want to engage in, it's Friday the 13th. So maybe a good topic for the day is what are some good movies to watch on Friday the 13th? If anybody's in the camp of Friday the 13th is a unlucky day or a strange day, or has any superstitions or that sort of thing. So might be a good jumping off point if anybody interacts today. But like I said, so far these have dudded out, but we'll keep on plugging along. And what I'm thinking about doing is eventually, maybe having a few topics to spring off of, but I haven't decided yet if that's what I want to do. I don't generally have to do that on TikTok, but on here it seems like maybe I might. So, and it might be fun, might add to the fun. At least it starts to get a conversation going anyway. So we'll see. These have been running about 20 minutes or thereabouts, the last few that I've done, mostly because if I don't get a lot of interaction or there's nobody participating, then there's really no point for me to, keep on going. So, maybe every time I do it, I catch one or two people, and then those one or two people every time come back, and then eventually, before you know it, we've got a thing going. So we shall see. And then there's also the thought that maybe eventually I'll do these at a specific time. So far, I haven't decided to do that. Boy, I can't talk. But I generally have been doing them somewhere between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning so far, trying to get a feel for when people are, on or might come around. Hello to Michaela. How you doing, Michaela? Any movies that you can recommend that are good to watch on Friday the 13th? Some people like to watch horror movies on Friday the 13th. I used to be in the horror genre. Published a magazine back in the day, back in the 90s, and just into the early 2000s, called Frightnet Online Magazine. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, though. The only thing back then is, Stranger Things. I'm glad you brought that up, because my wife and I started to watch Stranger Things. We watched, I think, the first 2 or 3 seasons of it, and then we just haven't tuned back into it. But I'd like to finish watching that series. So that reminds me, I wanted to kind of look that up and watch that show. Noah's World also says Stranger Things. Yeah, I like the show. I thought the show started off very good. So hopefully the show has continued on. I've heard about the Night Manager. Matter of fact, I just heard about the Night Manager the other day. Was it the Night Manager or was it the Night Agent? I don't remember now, but that name sounds familiar. There used to be a show. Oh, and I can't. This was back was way back. They used to have a reporter who used to go around at night and always wound up in these supernatural situations. That was actually a pretty fun show to watch. I wish I could remember the name of that show. It's a very old show, though. I think it was probably back in the 70s that they made that one. Jason? I'm assuming you're referring to Jason Voorhees. You know what? I liked the first Friday the 13th movie, maybe the second and third a little bit. But I think the whole franchise got a little bit weird and crazy. But the first one was certainly a good one. I did like that. Nightmare on Elm Street was the same way for me. The first one was an excellent movie. I really enjoyed watching it. But then it got a little bit silly, and then I couldn't get into it anymore. So I do love horror movies, though. I wish I could get my wife to watch more of them with me, but she's not a big fan of horror. She gets all freaked out. So it is what it is. I keep on telling her, look, we can. I'll snuggle with you. I'll keep you protected. Yeah, you bring up an interesting point. Noah's World says it's too violent. When it comes to horror movies, I'm not into the slash-o-matics at all. I don't like the slash-o-matics at all. I like horror movies that are more like a psychological thriller, especially when you don't see the monster. If they don't show you the monster, that is 100 times more scary. I mean, I look back at the movie Aliens. And it wasn't really a horror movie. It was more like a sci-fi thriller. But the fact that you never really saw the monster, that made the experience, that much scarier. Because one thing I've always said about horror is that in order to really tap into someone's fears, you have to let them allow their own imaginations to fill in the blanks. Nobody's going to scare me greater than I'm going to scare myself based on what my personal fears are. You know, it's like the old adage about the monster under the bed. My monster under the bed is the most scariest monster that could possibly ever be under the bed because it's my monster. It's come from my imagination. So, you know, Squid Game, I've heard of it. I've never watched it. Yeah, I've heard of it, but I have never watched it. And I heard it was a very popular show. Um, to be fair, I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch very little TV, actually. The TV goes on at night when we sit down to eat dinner because my wife and I are it's just us. So we we pop the TV trays out and eat out in the living room. But I watch maybe a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours of TV a day, and that's about it for me. So we have to be very selective in the shows that we choose to watch. Got to be something we've been watching a lot of these airline disaster documentaries. They're addicting. So that's kind of what we've been into lately. You know, watching people in terror in the air. You know, as the planes are crashing down to the ground, makes you want to get on a flight. Well, at least I got a little bit more participation today. If anybody is here now, it looks like there's 2 people here, and I just keep on repeating it because I don't know who's, already heard the spiel, but this is a live open forum. I do these on TikTok, and I thought I would bring it over here to YouTube because this channel is a non-niched, just for fun channel. But it's an open forum, so I let the viewers decide what they want the topics to be about. What the conversation wants to be. So, if anybody has any fun questions, silly questions, serious questions, I jump off of those. And, because I could pick a topic all day long, but I don't know what people want to talk about. And I like the engagement. It gives me something to do in the morning. So I appreciate, Noah's World says I'm here. I appreciate that. As like I say, like I said, the last few of these that I've done, this is only number 4, but the last ones I've done, they've kind of dudded out. I've had a little bit of participation, but not a lot. And I do realize it's going to take time for people to kind of catch on and come around. And the nice thing about YouTube as opposed to TikTok is it puts up a video on demand. So, and people are watching the videos after the live ends, which surprises me a little bit. Because there's not a lot going on in them. Engagement's another question, but people are watching them. So, maybe they find something of interest in the idea and then they come in here when I'm actually live. And, it took a little while on TikTok as well for an audience to build and for people to get a feel for what the live open forum is. So, it is fun. I do have almost 1,500 subscribers on this channel. And like I said, it's a non-niched channel. I never intended to niche it down. It was a just for fun channel, just to share things with my friends and family. And then when I started to release some music, it got pushed onto this channel. So that's on there. And I engage in some goofy stuff. So on the shorts side, even on the long form side, there's mostly goofy stuff. It's random. It's whatever it wants to be. So I have fun with it. I've got 2 other YouTube channels that I do that are niche down and do have a specific thing and purpose, but this isn't one of them. So on this channel here, I just have fun. I want to fly just like a bird. I have always said if I could come back as something, I might want to come back as a bird. Be fun to be able to fly around. There was a female singer. I thought she had a song about that. It's a pretty old song. Nelly Furtado? I believe it was Nelly Furtado was her name. She had a song. I don't remember the name of it, but I do remember the song. There was a good book that I read when I was younger, when I was a kid, and it's actually a really good book to read if you've never read it. It's Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I forget the name of the writer who wrote the book, but it's a good book. to read. I like that one, and I like The Lord of the Flies. That was another one I enjoyed, even though mostly I read horror books, but there were a few that were non-horror that I liked. I liked the Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Grapes of Wrath was a good book. Charlotte's Web. Is it only horror movies? Not sure which. Maybe I missed a comment there. No, I'm sorry. Is it only horror movies? I don't know what you're referring to there. Can I show you how to fly? Well, I would recommend that you are in some sort of mechanism that is designed to fly, because humans don't fly very well. And so if you try to fly without something designed for flight, yeah, that could turn out very bad for you. I really got to learn how to put this on airplane mode so that I don't get phone calls while I'm doing a live. The Crook Man. I've never heard of it. The Crook Man. Who's in it? Yeah, I've never heard of that one. Of course, there's a lot of things that I've never heard of. Like I say, I don't watch much TV, and even when it comes to movies, I really don't watch a lot of movies either anymore. I got away from TV and movies and things like that for a lot of different reasons. It's just, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's out there now that's just repetitive. It's either repetitive or they're trying to push a message. So things are feeling like they're less plot driven, feeling like they're less original. There's a lot of remakes. They keep on trying to remake everything. So we've been in this weird spot for the last 15 or 20 years where it seems like creativity has lagged a little bit. People aren't coming up with new, fresh ideas. They're trying to rehash everything. And that dinosaur movie. I used to love, what the heck was that show called? Land of the Lost. Land of the Lost. I watched that when I was a kid. When I watch it now, it's super, super cheesy. But when I was a kid, I was fascinated by that show. Most of the shows that I watch that are the older shows do come off as very cheesy today when I watch them. I can think of a multitude of, like even The Incredible Hulk. I loved that show when I was a kid, but when I watch it now, Chips, they're all a little bit corny and a little bit cheesy, but there's still a certain flavor to them that I do enjoy. So I watch a lot of the older shows. I watch more than I watch newer shows still to this day. So I guess it's partly about what you know. You stick with what you know. And there's a bit of nostalgicness to it as well, watching old stuff. Let's see. My PS5 is not working. I've never had a PS5. Yeah, the only thing that we ever had, and I did have a PS1 for a very short time in my adult life, but when we were kids growing up, all we had was the television, and only a couple of games that we had on that. I think we had Burger Time, we had Joust, some race car game, and maybe Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. I've never been into gaming either. That's something I never really got into, was the whole gaming thing. I know a lot of people are really into the gaming. I just never got into it. I think part of it for me is that I've got so many other things that I like to do. I like to play my guitar. I like to write, both in terms of, writing blogs and articles, as well as like to write music. So I've got things that I like to do to occupy my time. So for me, gaming would be something that would take away from all the other stuff that I want to spend my time doing. Well, I've been on here for 20 minutes. I've gotten some participation on this one, which is fun when it happens. It's a new gig. Work in progress, like I said before. These have been running about 20 odd minutes because if I don't get a lot of participation, there's no point. But the short time that I'm on here kind of serves as a advertisement of sorts, I suppose. Stranger Things season 4. How many seasons are there of Stranger Things? Because like I said before, my wife and I started to watch the series, and I think we got into at least the second season, maybe into the third. But I thought there were like 5. But he says 5. And I don't know if that's going to be the last season of the show or if they plan to do a season 6. But yeah, I thought season 5 was the most current one. And I know there was a bit of a lag or a gap, I thought, between one of the seasons anyway. I'd like to start watching it again. Oh, it's the last season. Okay. That makes sense. I guess after a while, all the kids are going to be too old to pull it off at some point. And the whole general theme of the show is it's a bunch of kids. Kind of reminds me of, that sort of the appeal of the movie Stand By Me, which was a movie that was based on the short story The Body by Stephen King. Love that movie. Love Stand By Me. And it brought back a lot of memories because I was that kid, that had the notebooks with the stories. When I used to write when I was younger, I always had the spiral notebooks and I would write my stories out by hand. I never became a famous published author in that regard, but when I was a kid, it was something I always aspired to do. It just never worked out. The publishing world is a lot different now than it was back then, too. I mean, nowadays you can publish pretty much anything you want, self-publish it, and get out there. But publishing world for me was old school. You had to submit your manuscripts to editors, and they would decide yay or nay on it, and that's how it would go. But it's a very different world, and even when it comes to music and things like that, when I published my album, Pink Flamingos, which you can find on this channel, by the way, if you go under releases, the album is there. That, along with Where Do I Go and All You Are. But back in the day, I never could have imagined for whatever it's worth, to be able to share that and have it go up on streaming platforms for people to listen to. So it's a lot of fun. Haunt? Is that a show or a movie? I don't know if I've ever seen that. But, it's a very different world, and I actually like it, we're in this world where, you can publish a blog, you can publish your music, you can be creative and publish videos on YouTube and Instagram and Reels and all those places. And I think what it does is it opens us up to a lot of talent that we never would have been able to see, because there was always a group of people that were deciding, who was worth watching. Now we get to decide for ourselves who we want to watch and who we don't want to watch, and who interests us and who doesn't interest us. And there is a lot of bands out there that have at least some sort of following because they're able to get out there on their own and let people decide what they like or don't like. Um, yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard of Haunt, Noah, but um, there might be something out there. You don't know any more movies. Yeah, there's a lot of movies that I've liked over the years. You know, I guess horror. If I'm picking out horror movies that I absolutely loved, uh, uh, Psycho would be one. The original Psycho, uh, done by Alfred Hitchcock, um, and Jaws is not really a horror movie, but I did like Jaws. I thought that was a very good movie. Aliens, I mentioned that before, more of a sci-fi thriller than a horror movie, but a lot of horror elements in it. I did like Misery. I thought that was a well done movie. And even though if I watch The Shining now, it looks cheesy to me now. But I remember when I first watched that movie, it was one that got me a little bit. So those are some of the movies I remember watching that on the horror side that I really did like. I know there's others, but off the top of my head, none are coming to mind. But um, some may. Well, I've been on here 26 minutes, which I guess is longer than I've been. I had some participation. Noah, thanks for giving me something to interact with. So I might pop out of here, but I'll keep coming back and doing these because, like I said, they'll eventually catch on. People will eventually figure out what it is and hopefully stop in. And hopefully you can find your way back. I don't have a set time, like I said before. Usually between 8 and 10 in the morning is when I've been doing these. So I guess we'll just have to see. But anybody that did stop in, I appreciate it. Check out my channel. Like I said, it's a non-niched channel. It's a just for fun channel, but there might be a couple of shorts or things on there that you might find funny or interesting. So, or maybe even the music. Give it a listen. I appreciate that. And so I'm going to sign off. I appreciate whoever popped in and gave me a second or two of their time. And thank you for that. No, I appreciate that. And I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it.